Mike McCool here. I'm in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Larry Elliott. Larry is is it the president or the director?
President of Front Row Warren County CCAP.
Yeah, CCAP. It's over there on Royal Avenue in the St. Luke's Clinic building in the lower level.
Yeah.
Just before we went on, we were talking about being in the basement over there and how he was making all these trips up and down the steps. So a lot of your volunteers are getting up there in age, and them steps are getting hard. So
You bet.
you have plans for doing something different?
We do. What we learned during this pandemic, first thing we learned is we could not operate out of CCAP. As soon as it happened in March, we talked to the Office of Emergency Management, Rick Farrell, and the rules were you can't do that. You guys are essential on essential food service, but you can't let people cram into less than 1,000 square feet.
It's tiny down there. I mean,
It's very tiny.
You got a lot of stuff crammed in.
Yeah, we got, at any given point, we may have several thousand pounds of food. In the storeroom, we'll have thousands of items of clothing in the clothing room, administration, and in the best of days, we're bumping into each other and bumping into the clients. So it's just not a good place to work. And it's really hard on the volunteers as well. We had some our people have been volunteering for over 20 years.
I know. I said we don't want to call them old people. We just want to call them mature.
Mature. Well, it's
Seniors.
one of our volunteers, Jean Kresge, who
Right.
grew up in Front Row. Her grandson took her to Martin's, and he was going to go in and get the food. So she said, "I think I want to go in." And he said, "No, Grandma." He says, "Your numbers are too high." And she said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, I didn't want to call you old, so I just say your numbers are too high." So all of us at CCAP are pretty much in that category.
I know. We're beyond that 70, aren't we?
You betcha. You betcha. But so what we learned in the pandemic is, first of all, our food happened to be located in the Department of Social Services room that we had over there. So we had to set up a drive-by. And we had to do that. We ran the drive-by over there because our food was there. We couldn't move food all over the place.
Sure.
Couldn't operate out of CCAP. So we learned how to do the drive-by. And then when June came along, we had worked out with the Office of Emergency Management our protocols for how to do it. Nobody can come in to get food. You have to do outside service. People who need clothes can come in one at a time for 15 minutes. They have to have their temperature checked, they have to have a mask on, and then they have to move on. So we've managed that fairly well. It works out pretty good. But we did learn the fact that we can no longer operate as we have been. We have to get a new building. We started a building fund in last July. We've got a nice little chunk of money. Some donors have been great with us. And so we're out scouting for that building, which will allow us to serve more people faster and even to add on some new services.
Well, it's definitely a service in our community that's needed, and it's just amazing the number of people that are going through your facility there. I know, speaking to some of the other women that worked over there. Now the county, the school system's giving out food. I mean, it's, Chairman Mabe says that the Board of Supervisors said no reason for people to go hungry in Warren County. I mean, we've got food, I don't want to say coming out our ears, but there's plenty of food for people. It's just a matter of getting it distributed.
Yeah.
Like you say, you have a basement full, but you can't get it out to anybody.
It's hard to move it out. When the pandemic struck, for our clients, we have a client base of about 7,500 individuals, and it includes almost 2,000 children. So their lives were turned upside down.
Sure.
A lot of them have lost more than one job during the pandemic, and they had to find another job. They're so focused, and I talked to all the clients I dealt with on Monday. I interviewed each one of them and asked them about how things were going. They said, "We are so focused right now, we have to pay the bill, utility bill, the rent bill, my car payment." And so sometimes we get just so tense that we forget about the food, we miss the date, and so our numbers actually dipped a little bit in the early part of the pandemic. They're coming back up now. So they are really getting stressed out by that. But Walt Mabe is correct. The funding that they provides free lunch and breakfast to all the school children, all of them particularly who need it, and they get extra food to take home. So that meant that the the school backpack programs didn't have to operate. So a lot of the churches that were doing that kind of stood down for a while, not all of them. So we got some relief. And in our case, we were able, by the way, the community was great with donations during this pandemic. So they really kept us going. And we now have I call them two emergency food inventory sites besides CCAP, which that storage food is full and we keep it topped off. Pastor Mark out at Riverton gave us a place to put another stack of emergency food. And then Pastor Valerie over at Episcopal just this week carved out another space. So we're planning for December, January, February where we think the food spike might come in. So we've collected a lot of extra food for that.
Well, and with winter coming, you have transportation issues because I know, like you said, a lot of your clients are maybe just have the one car and are working, and because you have limited hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you have very limited hours. I know. Is there is just anybody now can come? Do they have to be signed up in your? Because I noticed in the past they had to be kind of go through the paperwork.
Yeah, we've made it easy.
That was eliminated, and are they back to doing that now? Or?
Yeah, we do that. I mean, that's part of the accountability stuff that we owe to Feeding America. They need to know who we're serving, how much. So, but if you come to CCAP and say I need food, we're going to give you food.
Right.
We're also going to give you an application to fill out. If you decide you don't ever want to come back, that's your choice. But we're getting a lot more new applications. That number's just been climbing actually since April. It started climbing up. So you come in, you become a CCAP client, you're eligible for all the services that we have: food, clothing, limited emergency financial assistance for utility assistance primarily. And so I'm telling people to come in, every 30 days, get their food, come in, get their clothing. We're overlapping on purpose with loaves and fishes. So between the two of us, 5 days a week, food is open. We are giving out more food than we've ever given out before. We had our first 2 bags that I'm going up and down these stairs.
Right.
That was about 50 pounds of food.
Right.
Then I had 3 more bags. So each person is getting about 5 bags of food. 45 to 65 pounds of food, depending on what kind of food stuff we got. So they're getting more food, and now we're also loading up on a bag of personal items, toothbrush, toothpaste, so forth, a few little winter clothing items, and so forth. So they're getting more stuff than they've ever been able to get before.
Well, I know over the summertime into the fall, the community garden provided a lot of fresh produce, and I hear that was a real godsend for you and some other organizations, and they're planning to go back, again next year and maybe even do it bigger and expand it. But that's something the food bank rarely has, is the produce and the meats and things like that.
It's rare. In fact, that Victory Garden, Mike Graham and Fern Vasquez and all the volunteers, it was huge. A huge amount of produce came out of there.
Amazing. It's just that little bit of space.
I know.
Just coming out by the tons.
I tell you, I'm going to hire Mike Graham and Fern because they know how to get a bean out of every square inch of that garden.
I think they did. And they had some really great volunteers, and things just kind of happened when it was needed. The irrigation, they were worried about how to get the water, and somebody walked up and said, we got an irrigation system. We'll give it to you. In fact, we'll install it. In fact, we'll come and help work.
That's right. No, it was just kind of a magical coincidence of things that happened. And at the time that the crop came in was when we were right in the transition now, so that's where our food stuff was still trying to catch up with us a little bit. The food bank was having problems getting their menus down during that time, so here comes a rush of fresh produce. We paired that up with some donation we got from Echo Mountain Farm up on Browntown Road. But a couple of years ago, we started our own fresh food program. We put a grant in for some coolers, big wide coolers, and we started buying fresh foods out of the marketplaces and keeping them in there. So for the last 3 years, people have been, when they come in to get their food, they always get fresh food. Milk, eggs, cheese, produce, fruits of all kinds. When the Victory Garden came in, that's where we suspended the rules by saying, if you need food and you want fresh produce, we don't care who you are or signed up or not, you come over and you'll get your stuff. And they did. And it was amazing, remarkable how many people came over and how grateful they were to get that fresh stuff.
Right. It's that the fresh stuff is perishable.
It is.
And we need to we got to act on it today. Don't waste you snooze you lose.
That's
so
right.
We're not going to do that. I was talking to Fern and But they got a lot out of that, I think, personally.
They did.
And I could see it. They really enjoyed doing it. And I was down there several times, and the volunteers and kids, and it was a great community activity.
Yeah, it was.
And I think next year, if we can get some more volunteers, so we'll put a plug in for the community garden there. And but it worked. It worked during the wars. They called. I heard you say Victory Garden. That's what they called them.
That's right.
And it's just amazing. Even some of these socialistic and communist countries, remember, they had the communal farms, and they finally were giving just a small plot to each person to grow, and they were actually getting more produce from the little tiny plots than they were off
That's
their
right. That's right. They got a lot of attention, as this garden did.
That's right.
Yeah,
I think that's what works. It's that the love was put into it.
Yeah, they were tending to this garden like it was a gold mine.
It was.
And it was kind of a gold mine.
It was.
But Mike and Fern said they're going to challenge other people to have other gardens.
Sure.
They're going to do it cooperatively. We hooked them up with the Larry Elliott up on the Echo Mountain, and so they can start buying their seeds. The seeds were a problem.
Seed was a problem. That was a problem, getting the seed.
So he's kind of their consultant, and I think they're going to work together to get the seed orders in by February. And we have to think a little bit ahead this year too for storage of that produce.
Exactly.
We may have to get another cooler. I want to take in as much as we can and give it out as much as we can.
This is where you need that new building.
You betcha. You bet. Well, not only that, so we've always been nomads. We've always had to live out of somebody's basement, a church basement or St. Luke's, and we keep roaming around the countryside. We need a place where we can light a nice building that will be attractive to our volunteers, a good place to work, a good, safe place to work, particularly during the pandemic. And then a place where we have a single point of food storage, so we don't have to roam all over the place with trucks. Every week, 2 or 3 times a week, we're moving stuff around. And then more room for our clothing, more room for clothing storage, more room for administration, and maybe more room for some training programs for skill and force improvement stuff through Lord Fairfax. I'd rather give our people the opportunity, while we're giving them food, to give them the opportunity to get a job.
Exactly.
Because that's what they want. I'm talking to them on Monday, and they said, I want to work. I like to work. I want to work. It's important to me. I'll even work probably for less money than I should, but I want to work. And I think we have an obligation to look at other things that CCAP can do to help people get to what we call the time of self-sufficiency. That's what we want.
Yeah, CCAP is a helping hand and not doing for someone. This is the help pull people up.
Yeah, that's right. It's a safety net. And it's not a safety net that lasts forever. It's a safety net that helps you move up, and become self-sufficient. We've had, some of our people, I call them graduate. They graduated from CCAP. I was going through Martin's some time ago, and the lady at the cash register said, would you like to donate to CCAP? I said, well, let me think about that. But she knew who I was.
Right.
And she reminded me, she said, I used to be a CCAP client, and now I have a job, and everything's going fine. So that's what we like to see.
Well, I know that the Chairman Mabe is, I give Walt a lot of credit. He's really been passionate about this food and working with the organization. He then we're backwards with the thermal shelter and has given them a space there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space still left in that building out there. Maybe the county can partner with you to do something. I'm sure you're.
Well, they have been. They've helped us.
They've been cooperative.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think with Walt's coming on board and the other new members, Cheryl and Dolores and all of them, Tony and Archie, all of them, they've really stepped up and helped the community a lot more than a lot of people don't realize the work that's gone on behind the scenes with organizations like yours and others. And
that's true.
So now's the time to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I'm gonna every couple of years.
Yeah, I want to make them an offer they can't refuse.
There you go.
Like in The Godfather. But I tell you, what another thing in the pandemic. I mean, we learned a lot of lessons. We learned that the pandemic or the virus doesn't care who you are or where you live, how much money. They don't care about it.
That's right.
The virus doesn't need a passport. It'll find you wherever you are. But what it did provoke was just a remarkable amount of cooperation. I speak to Walt Mabe almost weekly.
Right.
And other county officials. And we're picking each other's brains about, and we started this a long time ago, talking to each other about what kind of planning do we do? What is the worst case that we can think of? We've thought through that. And we thought about his emergency food inventory. So this combination of public-private partnership stuff has become, the crown jewel of the way this community is operating, along with all the support that people give. We just had the bus program last week during the middle of a pandemic. And we couldn't have people gathering at Royal Plaza, but they did come by over at the studio for River 95.3. And we still got close to 7,000 pounds of
Isn't
food.
that amazing?
And we got, on the money side, we got a world record for us. We got almost $12,000 in cash and gift cards. So that's going to feed our food budget, and it may feed some of our building program. We're encouraging people, particularly the beginning of next year. They've given a lot this year, but to begin thinking about designating donations to CCAP for the building fund. We're close right now on our building fund to be able to go out and start looking for properties. We need a little bit more help in that regard. And if anybody out there wants to donate a building, I'll make sure his name goes right on the top of it.
That'll be your building. Right?
Yeah, whoever does that, they're going to get a name.
You're going to get naming rights.
You betcha.
But I asked one of my friends, I said, well, how come there's so many banks and financial advisors in Warren County? He said, there's a lot of money in Warren County, and you would not know it to look at it, but we know that some of you out there have just looking to a work to put to become part of. Yeah. And the CCAP and these other kind of programs are really good to get involved in.
Well, think about this, if you have the means to do this, think about picking up this legacy. CCAP has been operating for 42 years, and it's just been steadily growing, serving more and more people. We manage our finances, down to the penny. Janet Michaels on the radio program said, "You're very frugal, aren't you?" I said, "I'm a Scot, and Scots know how to protect a penny." So we, our
steward.
That's right. Our overhead's low. And so anybody who wants to join us with the donation capability to get the building, what you're doing is you're preserving the legacy. You're making sure that we can sustain this work for maybe another 42 years. And you'll certainly get recognized for that.
Well, it's a good work for people to become involved in. You're always looking for volunteers.
Oh, yeah.
Always need volunteers.
We do. We had, when the pandemic first hit, we lost a lot of our volunteers because, a lot of them were even older than me, which is hard to believe. And they had prior existing conditions and so forth, so they couldn't come in. And so the volunteer bench went way down. It's coming back a little bit more. But as we look to the future, I call it the next generation of volunteers, able to provide some of these new services that we're thinking about, able to improve the services that we have. So we're looking for people who want to come in and think about doing that. We got a wider range of things to do. We got a lot of automation. We got a lot of computer stuff going on. So there's a pretty wide range of jobs.
Yeah, I think that shopping center over there, where the CVS store was, would make a perfect CCAP location.
Yeah. Yeah, we could drain off some of the traffic that's shopping and bring them right on in.
That's right. Come on by there, but you really do need a place where it's convenient for people to get to, because a lot of people have limited transportation.
They do.
It can't. You have to be on the ground floor. And have to have room for coolers. You got to be able to have the utilities to run the. There's a lot of steps. Just can't be anywhere and everywhere.
No, we got to be in town, and we have a specification in our working with our board. I say here's a specification that it takes for us to be a CCAP of the future, and we're not going to compromise on it.
Right.
We're going to have to stick with this and work hard, but we need to be in town. We need to be in a place where people can get to us. You're right about transportation. Some of our clients show up on bicycles.
Right. I've seen the cab bring them.
The cabs bring them
for them to pick it up.
Yeah, and they will hook all these bags onto the handlebars and march off down the street. So we try to make it convenient in town, and I think there's some places out there just waiting to be discovered.
I think so too. So hopefully people will start ringing your phone.
Yeah.
We'll put the information in the story how to get hold of you, Larry.
That's good.
And links to your website and everything. And hopefully that we will stir up some interest for you during anything special you're doing for the holidays, or they have any kind of programs? As you know, Christmas time we have the Doc's baskets, and a lot of churches have some programs. I know we're having some holiday baskets. Is CCAP doing anything in particular?
We are. I mean, one of the things we're doing, we're pushing food out to other people who are doing the projects.
Right.
So we're supporting the Rotary program with the baskets. So we've pushed over a lot of food for that. I think it's December the 19th thereabout.
Right.
We're still collecting coupons for turkeys, and we'll wait for the prices to drop, and we'll get some more to hand out, more food for the.
Yeah, I get my coupon from Martin's. I don't need a 21-pound turkey.
I got someone who could use that, but
I know you.
but we're doing all those kinds of special programs. We're concerned about the utility assistance. We've raised our amount that we give out. That's in high demand right now. People are really coming in. We want people to know Salvation Army also has an ability. Department of Social Services has some extra programs around utility assistance and rental assistance and eviction programs that are trying to keep people in their homes over the holidays in particular. So all those things are going on. And then on our new website, we just modified it, cranked it up a little bit in October. We now have a PayPal donation button. It's going to stay there. It'll be ready for you in the new year if you want to designate for the building fund, or you can send us an email at ourcap@gmail.com.
Okay.
I check it 2 or 3 times a day.
There you go. Well, this is coming on the end of our year, and if you need a little tax break for next year, get it in there before December 31st. I mean, nickels and dimes add up, so you'll take whatever people will send, and
you bet.
But it doesn't hurt to put a couple extra zeros at the end.
Absolutely not.
And,
We do an annual report. We do an annual report every year, and we tell everybody, our donors in particular, here's exactly what we did with all the donations. And here's an interesting point, Mike. We asked the IRS for some guidelines. How do you value what we do? The total market value of all the food and clothing stuff that comes into CCAP and goes out to the community, how much is that worth? Based on the IRS guidelines, they estimated to be close to $400,000 last year.
Wow. That's a big impact in our community.
Yeah, 75 tons of food, 15,000 items of clothing, financial assistance. So if you removed that amount of money, that amount of goods coming out into the community, there would be a huge pothole in Warren County. But our community, our donors out there, all of our people, gracious community, they are holding up this effort.
You mentioned some of your clients worrying about their rent and their car payments, but by taking the food out of the budget, allows them to have a few extra dollars for those other expenses that they can't get any assistance on.
Absolutely.
So
I gave that sermon on Monday to all of them, and I call it the food offset. And I told this lady, I said, because she's worried about a car payment, I said, look, I want you to come in here every 30 days. You're going to get 5-6 bags of food. I want you to go to Loaves and Fishes. I want you to go to the hot meals programs, because every penny you don't spend in a grocery store is a penny you can put towards your car payment. And she said,
they don't think about it.
I never thought about it. Right.
That's right. They're looking, well, I still have to buy food, but as if you can use the system as much as you can when you have a need. I mean, that's what it's for.
It is, and I think more and more of our folks are understanding about the idea of the offset, and they're making good use of it.
Yeah. Well, Larry, I really appreciate all the work. I know you've done it for quite a few years, and a lot of your volunteers have done that, and we send out our thanks to them, and I appreciate, again, everything that they do and you do there. But if you have a donation to make and you're looking for some place to donate local, this is an excellent place to do it, CCAP. And again, we'll put the information in the story where they can get a hold of you. But it's easy to find. Just type in CCAP and it'll pop right up.
Pop right up. Now, thank you, Mike, for giving us this time to talk. And I want to thank everybody in Front Royal, Warren County. This community has really been good to us, and we appreciate it.
All right. Again, thanks again, Larry. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you.